I'm going to have the children, the kids come forward. And I am searching for something on the internet. Oh, they're quick. Quicker than I am. My fingers are too big. Huh? What is that? You know what a tree stump is? Have you been to Iowa? Okay, you're really little. Because I bet you your grandpa probably cut down a tree. And when you cut down a tree, if you don't do anything to that stump, you know what happens? What's that? Is that green? That's a new tree. That's what happens. Same with us. You have a new tree. Not literally a tree coming out of your head. I had to define that. Because I'm sure that's, yeah. That's how someone your age thinks, right? Yep, literally. But Jesus makes us alive again. Cool, huh? And we can thank him for that. You like that? Is that good? Yeah? Awesome. Let's say a prayer. She goes, I'm out of here. Dear Jesus, thank you for bringing us life. We love you, Jesus. Amen. How come you guys don't get that excited? What's that? There's very few times I would love to use like a screen or something. But this Sunday is one of those, because you probably can't see that. I know if I was out there, I wouldn't be able to. Its roots may grow old in the ground, and its stump die in the soil. Yet at that scant little water, just a little water, it'll bud and burst forth shoots like a plant. There's a poem called Detail by Billy Collins. I'm gonna go ahead here. I wasn't gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna read it. It was getting late in the year. The sky had been low and overcast for days, and I was drinking tea in a glassy room with a woman without children, a gate through which no one had entered the world. She was turning the pages of an expensive book on a coffee table, even though we were drinking tea. A book of colorful paintings, a landscape, a portrait, a still life, a field, a face, a pear and a knife, all turning on the table. Men had entered there, but no girl or boy had come out. I was thinking oddly as she stopped at a page of clouds aloft in a pale sky, tinged with red and gold. This was one of my favorite, she said. even though it was only a detail, a corner of a larger painting which she had never seen. Nor did she want to see the countryside below or the portrayal of some myth in order for the billowing clouds to seem complete. This was enough, this fraction of the whole, just as the leafy scene in the windows was enough. Now that the light was growing dim, as was she enough, perfectly by herself, in her place, in the enormous mural of the world. So the woman comes upon a landscape that includes a cloud in the sky. Her eyes rest on that cloud, and then she looks up and says, "This one's my favorite." It's one small cloud from a much larger landscape of a mountain range. She doesn't know that. All she knows is one detail is enough. And for her it's beautiful. The poem invites us to consider this truth for today. One detail is enough. And it's beautiful. That's the sermon in a nutshell. Okay, I'm done. and we get an applause. The crowd goes wild. One detail is enough, and it's beautiful. Hold on to that promise. Hold on to that promise with all your heart. It will make a difference, a huge difference for you today and forevermore. By now, we all know that Job was a prosperous man who worshiped God. But one day, Satan alleges that the only reason Job worships God is because God gives him so many gifts. Satan bets the farm if Job loses his gifts, he will curse God. So God gives Satan permission to have at it with Job. Job loses his wealth. Now, some have estimated his wealth at $45 million. He was a wealthy man in his day. Worse than that, 10 children die in a storm. Job then loses his health. By the end of chapter 2, he's sitting in ashes, scraping himself with a piece of pottery. This is when I need a chalkboard. Just sends shivers up your spine, at least mine. It's ugly. It's a God-forsaken landscape littered with death and destruction. In chapter 14, Job describes this landscape of his life. Man born of woman is of few days and full of trouble. He springs up like a flower and withers away. Like a flower, Job is withering away. A mountain erodes and crumbles. Like a mountain, Job's life is eroding and crumbling. Water wears away stones and torrents wash away the soil. Like stones in soil, Job's life is wearing away, washing away. Job's landscape is filled with pain and sorrow. But in the midst of withering flowers, eroding and crumbling mountains, worn stones, and washed away soil, Job sees something else. If a tree is cut down, it'll sprout again. And its new sprouts will not fail. New shoots won't fail. New shoots. And new shoots means new hope. One detail is enough. And for Job, it's beautiful. And so Job exclaims, there is hope for a tree. And since there is hope for a tree, Job reasons there is hope for me. The tree can recover from being cut down. Have you ever had a tree cut down and in its place it grows another tree full size? I can tell you after Hurricane Wilma, we lost, I forget what it's called, it has a blue, not a blue flower, a yellow flower. And we had a tree that grew about like to this size out of that other tree and bloomed. A tree can recover. Job is cut down first by the accuser, Satan, who thinks Job's faith is fake. He thinks it's false, a fraud, a farce. Second, Job is cut down by his wife. Curse God and die, she says. And third, Job is especially cut down by his friends, Bildad, Zophar, and Eliphaz. They're like drill sergeants, and they got the compassion of chainsaw killers. They're like, hey, Job, you must have done something really bad. It's like, thanks for the help. We know that God punishes those who do bad, they say. And no wonder in Job chapter 16, verse 2, Job calls them miserable comforters. His head hurts, his eyes burn, his legs ache, and he can't stomach any more of their hollow homilies. There's see if I pronounce her name right, Deborah Ricketts, independent researcher for the film industry. She made her living finding mistakes. So a film set in the 1950s can't have a person reading a newspaper that didn't exist, or a band playing a song that hadn't been written. But mistakes happen. In the Raiders of the Lost Ark, a map that charted Indiana Jones' flight routed him over Thailand. The problem is the movie was set in 1936. Thailand was called Siam. In Die Hard 2, Bruce Willis made a phone call from what's supposed to be a phone booth in Washington, D.C. The problem is the phone said Pacific Bell. Do you have people like that in your life? People like Deborah Ricketts? People who love to point out our mistakes? Sure we do. Sure I do. Happened the other day. Trimming my bushes. Just like Job, we all get cut down by people. Kids, you know what it's like to be cut down by bosses, neighbors, spouses, ex-spouses. And then there's Satan, who daily seeks to cut us down, chop us up, spit us out. But there is hope for the tree. A tree can overcome being cut down. A tree can overcome being left for dead. Its roots may grow old in the ground and its stump dies in the soil, yet just a little bit of water and it'll bud and shoots will come forth. Do you know the feeling of being left for dead? Like Job, we can feel like zombies. We can say what needs to be said. We do what needs to be done. We pick up what needs to be picked up. But we feel alone, abandoned, hopelessly dead, like a used up, dried up, good for nothing, rotten tree, stump. Yet even a tree stump that's been dormant for a long time, a good soaking rain, the sprouts come forth. A tree can overcome being left for dead. And that's why Job says, I will wait for my renewal to come. Job's renewal and restoration are on the way. And it all begins with new shoots in the stump of a dead tree. One detail is enough, and for Job, it is absolutely beautiful. I wish I had the painting or some way to show you. I can show you in Bible study. But there's a painting by Otto Dix. He's a German artist. He served in the German army in World War I. He was wounded in battle. And after the war was over, he received the Iron Cross. But yet, no medal or honor or talk of glory in battle could erase his horrific memories. So he painted. In 1924, Otto Dix composed what is known as the War Triptych. He styled it like you would paint something for an altar, a church altar, with a centerpiece of the crucifixion, and then two side wings filled with angels and saints. Only instead of the story of God and images of salvation, Otto Dix filled it with images of war. The only living figure is a man wearing a gas mask to save him from the poisoned air. Into this landscape of human destruction, Dix had placed one detail. It's hidden within. There's a corpse stretched out like a bridge. You see the hand pointing out. And if I follow that hand to a bony finger, the detail that's hidden. And hidden, buried upside down with a pile of corpses, you see Jesus. Beaten, discarded, defeated, dead and buried. It's really easy to miss. I had to look really, really hard. I'm sitting there enlarging the screen and everything. Very easy to miss. It's easy to miss God's promises, isn't it? It's easy to focus on the littered landscapes of pain and brokenness. That's why we need Job. That's why we desperately need Job. How many of you are ecstatically excited what's going on in Iran, in Israel? I'm kind of like, yeah, it might be a good thing, you know. So many things going on, and they've been going on for forever. Don't lose track under the littered landscape. We need Job. Job helps us see the new shoots coming out of the dead tree. Do you see God's promise in the midst of your despair? Do you see Jesus? You can answer that. Yeah, those that you who are visiting, yeah, I'm one of those pastors. He did it all for you. We don't just, it's not a surface thing. Well, I'm Lutheran, of course I'm saved. We're saved because of Jesus, of what he's done. You need to hang on to him. When I would see people suffering in the hospital or people going through some really traumatic things, sometimes I would say, hang on to Jesus. And I would tell them to image my robe and grab on to him. Not to me, to him. To Jesus. To hang on to him. Because our faith is living. Our faith is active. It's not just a surface thing. Because a surface faith, it's not going to do anything. A faith, a trust in him. He forgives you. He heals you. He holds you. He empowers you. And Jesus gives you everlasting hope and joyful renewal. Those are the promises he has said. How can we be sure? How do we know? New life bursts forth out of what is dead. The tomb is empty. Christ is alive. There are eyewitnesses. There's a written record. As I destroy everything in the pulpit. A written record. I know that my Redeemer lives. Do you know that your Redeemer lives? He lives, and we thank him for that. We rejoice in that. One detail. New shoots in the midst of a dead tree. That's enough. That's more than enough. And for on this day, it's absolutely beautiful. Amen.